O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You know what my favorite text is? A waypoint in the onX Hunt app to a goblin turkey. The list on the onX Hunt app features for chasing turkeys is long, but knowing exact public and private boundaries and land ownership details will help you find more places to hunt, whether that's on public or private. I'll be toting the Hunt app through the spring woods in a few states this year, and I recommend you do the same if you want more turkeys on your table. Also, onX has a special offer for you. Use code BEARGREASE to receive 20% off your membership at onxmaps.com/hunt this spring.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and this is a production of the Bear Grease podcast called the Bear Grease Render, where we render down, dive deeper, and look behind the scenes of the actual Bear Grease podcast. Presented by FHF Gear, American-made, purpose-built hunting and fishing gear that's designed to be as rugged as the places we explore. So Josh is now like the audio bad boy of the Bear Grease podcast.
I got a rep now. I got a reputation.
Josh was
street cred.
I think you got a rap. You got priors.
Well, he got reprimanded. He got reprimanded for fidgeting, heavy breathing, drinking on the podcast. Not non-alcoholic drinks, but drinking on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so we were texting Josh, okay, here's the thing that we all do and we all know it. When you actually need to talk to someone about something serious and you turn it into like a little bit of a joke.
You're doing a bit, yeah.
Yep. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like rather than like call Josh and like confront him.
Yeah.
Just like.
Which is to me, that's the best way to do it.
Oh, Brent Reaves says that, who's never confronted anyone in his life.
No,
so
I
you
didn't.
make a joke.
Not jokingly. I'm like, hey, stop.
So we joke. So we send a text thread, and we're like, "Oh,
you've offended Josh. You're offending Brent.
No,
I think you need to watch yourself." I'm just saying.
No. So after a couple of joking text messages about the heavy breathing,
it got
the heavy
real
drinking,
quick.
Then it was like Josh is really offended.
This is how we create a villain. He is now a bad boy.
I'm a megalomaniac now.
He's adjusting that mic to breathe directly into it. I'd like to bring up a point like the chairs provided are very noisy. Like, is that our fault?
It adds ambiance.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like we're sitting in a recording studio. This is your office.
Clay has attacked Josh. Josh has now attacked back. He says, this is not a recording studio.
Wow. That really hurts my feelings, Josh.
He said it jokingly.
Yeah, he did it in a joke style. So
what if you had really
all bets are
confronted
off.
me after this? Like, Clay, I know you think this is a recording studio. It's not.
You think that all the taxidermy deadens the sound, but it doesn't.
I bet if we took that bear out of here, this thing would sound like an echo chamber.
I wonder what the resonance would be if you removed every bear hide from here.
It would be.
It's definitely helping.
It's seriously echoey. It was when you first moved in.
But now with all the bear hides.
And the furs.
I've got
the furs absorb a lot,
3,
too.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bear hides, a full deer hide, a mountain lion hide.
Fox.
18 coon hides.
A mountain lion. Did you say mountain lion already?
Mountain lion.
A Black Panther shoulder mount.
Black Panther shoulder mount.
Bear hide here's got a tick on it.
Bear chaps.
Does it really? Well, welcome to the Bear Grease Render, guys. I'm very excited about today's podcast. I want to just pitch this in right here at the front so that everybody will know. August 2nd through the 4th. This podcast comes out on the 3rd of 2022.
There's time left.
There's time left. There's a big season opener sale for First Light, FHF Gear, Phelps Game Calls, and all the Meat Eater brands. And basically, I'm not going to go through all the exact stuff, but if there was ever time to buy First Light gear, it's now. Big sales on everything that they've got. Also with Phelps, there's some stuff that's even 40% off with the First Light. Phelps is having a big sale. Their elk bugle that has the built-in diaphragm is revolutionizing elk call. I mean, typically, Josh, you use a turkey type diaphragm call, and then you blow through a bugle tube.
I didn't
know
know
it
that.
takes a little bit of practice to blow it.
Is there a video where I can see that used, like in a home shopping network type of?
Yes,
context?
there is. There happens to be two gentlemen that I met them just briefly, Clay Newcomb and Brent Reaves, that made a little video
At a gas station with taxidermy in it.
Is so
He said,
Yes.
come back, we got some work for you.
Does
Yeah,
First Light
yeah.
have any boot cut pants for Isaac?
Oh, no.
I wish they
Hey,
did.
what would you say to a guy who says, I like to buy my stuff at the last minute and at full price? Like, is this a good opportunity for them?
No. If that guy would need to wait to the
Yeah.
5th of August.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a
roll
great
the
point.
dice. I don't know if it's going to show up in time. Wait
Yeah, I
till
would
like
just wait if I was that guy.
Okay, cool.
But if you want
A good
the
deal
good stuff, yeah,
and to get it in plenty of time for the season.
now's the times. Season
busy.
opener sale. Gary?
Well, and look how our main man here is dressed in overalls. This is kind of like Dunlap store right here.
Yeah.
This is
You are
an
Dunlap
antiquated way.
Don't forget my socks.
This is all high tech stuff you're selling. This is all you need is overalls.
Right.
And a good attitude and perfect balance. I have all of those.
And white teeth.
And you wear quite a bit of First Light gear.
Yeah, I do all the time.
Well, we're just begging them to make us some overalls. Cut that out, Isaac.
I got it.
Don't cut it out, Isaac.
Don't cut it out.
If I
Isaac.
get in trouble, I'm going to blame you, though.
You got it.
The last render. So we always, every now and then, describe the structure of our podcast for anyone who
Yeah.
might be new. Every other week, we have the Bear Grease Render, which is where we gather up a group of people to talk about the real Bear Grease, which is our documentary style podcast, which we do every other week. So we produce a weekly podcast. So this week on the render, we are going to be talking about our gas station taxidermy roadshow podcast.
Very fun.
It was very entertaining.
Oh man, me and Isaac, when we kind of built this idea, and by built this idea means I called Isaac and was like, this is what I'm going to do. And he was like, great idea. But
Yeah.
it just means a lot when he's like, great idea, do it.
Yeah.
So when we built this podcast, I was like,
Yes, man.
this is going to be good. Why is that dog barking? Tess!
Ouch,
Hush!
that hurt my ears.
That's loud.
I can't take dogs barking.
He says that, and he
Boone
has
and Crockett
6
Buck
hound
out there.
dogs.
Yeah.
They're always barking.
So I was excited about this because it was just a different style of podcast than we've ever done. It was
Definitely.
it was a lot of fun. It was primarily in the field content. We had 2 feature guests, one of which was Misty Newcomb, and one of which
right.
was
Shining
JB
star.
Shreve, who
All
couldn't
right.
be here. He was going to come, but he wasn't able to.
Okay.
But so we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Fascinating character. I've met him before.
Old JB Shreve. Introductions. We're going to go counterclockwise this time. To my right, Josh Landbridge, Spielmaker.
Still
Great
as
to
a
have
stone.
you, Josh.
Still as a stone.
The Bear Grease audio bad boy himself, Josh Spielmaker. Gary Newcomb to his right. Gary, how you been, man?
Excellent.
Yeah?
Excellent.
You got a lot to say on this podcast?
I can't wait.
You going to tear
I'm
in?
bubbling over.
Good.
Jubilation.
Good. To your right, Misty Newcomb. Great to see you, Misty.
Always.
Have you got a
always
lot
good
to
be
say?
here. You know, I've said a lot.
Will you
know.
let her?
Already?
I think I have about an average amount to say.
Great. To your right, Isaac Neale.
Yes, sir.
Assistant to the producer of the Bear Grease podcast.
Yes.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
I kind of missed the bootcut jeans and cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Well, I was at a
It-
You,
I was
Yeah.
at a
you went full reversal on
Yeah.
us.
I was at a show all weekend, and I had my boot cut jeans and my cowboy boots on. And did I tell you how I got the cowboy boots?
I assumed
Lost
you,
a bet.
you bought them. Did you
My wonderful
take
father,
them off of a corpse or something?
my wonderful father, Chris Neale, says, "You want some cowboy boots?" And I said, yes, I'd love some cowboy boots. Thank you very much. He said, my podiatrist said I can't wear them anymore.
I thought he was going to get them from the podiatrist. Somebody couldn't.
I need to know what a podiatrist is.
Just
I think
foot doctor.
Context clues of
Foot doctor.
Foot doctor.
Foot doctor.
Okay.
Anyway, so he gave me the boots, right? Love the boots. I was standing on concrete all weekend at a trade show, and today I was just like, I'm tired. I'm going with my supportive tennis shoes.
That's the reason.
I'm putting on my
Cowboys wear
shorts,
boots.
but I did get this shirt from my dad as well, so it's all
Bringing in the spirit
simpatico.
of Chris Neale
Yeah.
to the
Great.
Bear Grease.
Great. Well, looking good. And then to your right, Brent Reaves. Great to see you, Brent.
Great to be seen.
You're wearing a very nice pair of overalls today and a new pair of shoes.
Ooh.
Oh,
my
bears.
goodness. Look at these socks.
Those
Okay.
bears?
That's bears,
Yes.
Jack.
Ladies and
Bear
gentlemen,
socks.
Brent Reaves is wearing a powder blue pair of trouser socks,
Yeah.
With bears on.
decorated.
Does that bear have a fish in its
It's
mouth?
got a
Why
trout.
would he-
adorned.
what else would he have in there?
There's like
I don't know,
about
berries,
it's a
small
pattern
chow.
of
Adorned
bears.
with grizzlies.
These were
Teeth?
a present from Bailey. These socks. She gets me socks with. I got socks with hound dogs on them.
Yep.
With trout. You would appreciate them,
Yeah, I
Josh.
would.
Fish, bears, animals. Yeah. So I like to wear them.
Excellent.
And
You're
who are
looking
you?
Good.
Who are you?
My name's Clay Newcomb.
Okay.
I'm the host of the Bear Grease podcast. So we're gonna talk about the Taxidermy Roadshow, but before that, I want to wade through a few things. Brent, tell me about your dog treeing the other night.
You know, Waylon, first cut out of the box, turn him loose. He goes trees. I look on my Garmin, 150 yards. I walk to the spot where he's at, and he still sounds like he's a quarter of a mile away. And we're hunting up in the woods where we filmed, where you guys were at, where we coon hunted up at with Michael. I get up to the edge of this slough right here, man. It's flat ground all the way in there, so there's no hills. There's not a hollow tree close. There's a slough right in front of me, but there's no beaver dam. There's nothing. I don't understand why I can't hear this dog. It shows him to be at this point 20 feet away. I walk 20 more feet, and I'm standing on this bare ground, flat bare ground in the river bottoms, and this dog sounds like he is a quarter of a mile away. He just ooh, ooh, ooh. I was like, I can't. Where's my dog? So I'm looking at Michael. I said, Michael, I can't find my dog. And I'm looking at the Garmin, and that thing is spinning around in circles like a ceiling fan. I know I am right where this dog is at, or where the collar's at. And then I get to listen, and he is barking under my feet.
What?
Under my feet. He is in the ground. And I think
In a hole?
Somebody's got to get a shovel. I got to dig my dog out. I could see.
Hold up real quick.
Yes.
That sounds like the next Clay Newcomb song. Somebody get a shovel. I got to dig my dog out.
Hound in a hole.
Just an idea.
Hound
Okay,
in a
back
hole.
to the story.
Could be.
Hound in the
So-
hole, chicken in the holler.
So I'm 20 feet, 25 feet away from the edge of the slough. And the water, I can see, it's not running water, it's standing water, but I can see the water moving. So I walked over to the edge and laid down and looked under, and there's a 6-inch gap between the top of the dirt and the water. You can see there is a beaver run, a beaver hole that goes up in this bank. And I get down there and I can hear it, and it sounds like Waylon has got a paper towel tube and he's barking through it and barking out that hole, you know.
That would be a sight to see
So
if
I
that were
I
true.
shine my light in there and I can't see anything. It's just water. So I called him, and when he comes out, he looks like he's in a submarine periscope. All I can see is the top of his eyes, and the rest of him's underwater at that point. He comes right out, swims out, and I grab him by the collar and pull him up. And I looked at Michael. Michael said, "We're just going to say he had the coon. I ain't going down there to check." There it was. And
That
from
was a
then
good
on,
How far in there was he?
15 yards.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
For
wow.
real.
He was way back in there.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like he was right on the edge of the bank. He was 15 yards away from the edge of the water. No flashlight. He's a man. He's a good dog.
Okay, so I've got a little bit of a story. Bear Newcomb and I went this week to get ready for bear season, and we went and we took our mules to a piece of property where we bear hunt. You may have seen us have the mule videos where we're hauling bait, and we took Banjo up there, and right out of the chute, Banjo. Y'all have seen me post some stuff about Banjo, and he's not doing great.
Clay and Banjo are in the strained era of their relationship.
He's had a little bit of recidivism, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's
He's
kind
gone
of
through their
gone.
rebellious teen
Would you say
years.
that he's sort of the Josh Spielmaker of the mule
The mule
pack?
pack.
He's the bad boy of the mule pasture. But so my history with Banjo is that he started off really good.
You do remember, though, that there was one episode of the Bear Grease Render that I titled Kicked by a Mule because he kicked me when he walked out. That's a strike against an animal if it ever reaches out and kicks you. That's like getting bit by a dog. It's like, usually you don't give him too many more chances than that. But because it was kind of my fault. I kind of scared him. He wasn't like trying to hurt me. He got a pass. He kicked me right in the thigh. Well, I started riding him in January, and he was doing really great. First time I rode him, just rode him around the round pen. Usually start riding him in a round pen, just as a contained, controllable environment. And I had packed on him. I had done all the there's multiple training exercises that you do to basically train a mule. Well, I got overzealous with how good he was doing. And so one day back in the spring, I decided I'm just going to ride him out in our small pasture out here. And he was doing fine. Everything was okay. And then I went under a tree, and the limbs of the tree raked against my hat and made just kind of a scratching noise. Josh, it would probably be like your mustache like scratching up against the microphone is what it sounded like to Banjo. And so like. Banjo, it spooks him. He runs. He makes just a quick run. And when he does, I kind of tighten down on the saddle, just trying to stay on. And when I do, I think that spooks him. And he bucks twice, real big. I mean, I couldn't see it. And when you're in the saddle, it feels like a giant, rodeo buck. It probably
all fours
wasn't.
Off the ground.
And but he bucked hard twice, and I flew off the front. He bucked me off. No big deal. I actually got back up on him and rode him right then just to let him know everything was okay. But since that time, he has been ultra spooky about almost everything. So I started riding him in the round pen again and still doing all my normal exercises, my lunging, I don't really even know what to call it, but there's like 5 or 6 things.
To be clear, this is not
do.
Clay with his hands over his head, bending at the knees, not those kind of lunges.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I was thinking you
they,
upright on top of its back doing some sort of horseback gymnastics or muleback gymnastics.
That would have been cool.
Go ahead.
So anyway, Misty saw that one. Misty and my nephew were in the garden when that happened. And then 2-3 weeks later, after I'd worked him a couple times and ridden him a couple times, and I thought, okay, we're over him getting spooky. We're over him getting spooky. We're good. I was riding him, and I'd ridden him for 30 or 40 minutes in the round pen. And just all of a sudden, he just got spooked, unprovoked spooked is what it felt like. And he bucked 2 times, and I flew off the exact same way. So he drops his head and spins hard right, and I keep going left. And but the second time, I landed on my feet. Yeah, it was pretty good.
That was Monty Hawkeye Henson's technique. He was a saddle bronc rider, man. Could ride the hair off a winged Pegasus. And when he come off of that bronc, it was 9 miles in the air, and he landed on his feet and walked off like a stud that he was.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That's
that's
inspiring. Yeah, fact check that. What's his name?
Monty Hawkeye Henson.
Okay, so now I'm scared of Banjo, just to be, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
like
for real.
and he is hyper. He's hyper aware of me now when I'm around him, when I put stuff on his back, and I've only got on him a couple of times, and I've actually sent an inquiry out to my friend Ty Evans, TS Mules on Instagram, who's a master mule man, and he's supposed to answer my question on his podcast. I said,
great.
Basically, I had a young mule that was doing good, rode him multiple times, everything was okay, bucked me off. Second time he bucked me off, he's gotten much spooky. And I think I know the answer of what to do, is you just got to keep doing the same thing. But, so, we take Banjo to the land to haul all our materials up because I am building, this story has some complexity in it, I'm building a pit blind for black bears. Yeah, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
We use decoys, roll top, like a rice field.
You're speaking my language now.
Yeah, I figured it was.
But we have to hand dig it, and so I had to bring a bunch of stuff. So I was going to use Banjo as our pack animal, which I did. I get Banjo all packed up. I get Izzy saddled up. Bear's going to lead Banjo, and I'm going to ride. And as soon as Bear I unties Banjo from the tree, I said, Bear, whatever happens to that mule, I just had a feeling, just by the way he was acting, that he was going to act up. I said, whatever happens, just hold on to him. You're not on his back, so he's not going to hurt you. Just hold on to him. Well, the second I get on Izzy and ride off a little bank kind of towards him, Banjo gets spooked and just throws a bucking fit. Nobody's on his back. I'm on Izzy. But he, for comfort, is running towards Izzy. And so I'm trying to take Izzy away, and I start like trotting down the road to just kind of get away from him, just let him buck it out, and then I was going to go catch him. Well, he's just like right up on me, and Izzy just bucking. And I mean, I'm confident that Izzy's going to get spooked and buck me off, which she's never done. And anyway, finally the darn thing bucks and just throws a fit, and probably 5 or 6 big bucks, you know. And then finally he quits, and he's like, okay, I'm free. And Bear dropped the lead.
Way to call him out. I don't think you should call your kids out on a nationally broadcasted
it is what
podcast.
It is.
I'm sorry. I just wish he'd have held on to it. That's all. I'm not mad at him
anymore.
And the mule just...
He wasn't mad at him, but he wasn't happy with it.
Banjo has my steel chainsaw in his deal. He's got a pickaxe, a shovel.
Man.
He's got all my stuff on him. And he just takes off running down this road. And we're way out in the middle of nowhere.
He's going back to the truck?
Well, we're at the truck.
Oh.
He's going just...
somewhere.
You ain't even got there yet.
He's going wherever he's going. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so... it's always a touch and go thing when a mule takes off, because if you chase it, they'll just keep running. But if you don't go after them, they keep running too. and so Bear Newcomb, though, this is where I'll regain Bear's dignity inside of this. That boy never he never missed a lick. Like, his facial expression never changed. His demeanor never changed. The energy coming out of his body never changed. Mine did. I get worked up. I mean, I was like, I don't cuss, but like most people probably would.
That would have been
cussing.
a good time to do it.
But I mean, I was just like, Bear, get the, I mean, I was being real intense, and Bear just never made a move. And anyway, Bear takes after the mule, and about 10 minutes later, I see him walking back with Banjo, and then we go up on to where we're going and start digging our pit line for 8 hours.
Maybe you should have him ride Banjo.
Ooh.
Maybe him and Banjo would get along.
So much happening in this story. I feel like I don't know much about mule training and haven't paid as much attention outside of just filming videos. But I'm hearing a lot, Clay, that I think, Ty Evans or not, I could work with you on.
Oh, okay.
All right. I mean, Bear being able to get Banjo, not sending a lot of loose energy. You thinking that you weren't mad at Bear,
emotional,
but you weren't happy with him either.
About.
I can assure you, Bear knew exactly where your emotions were at in that moment. I think there's some things here. Also, I question whether or not you felt. I really do. When people have traumatic experiences like wrecks, or they always think they remember things exactly how it happened, and they almost never do. Your memory plays tricks on you. Am I right, Brent?
That's correct. Yeah.
In those kind of moments.
Well, you saw it both times.
Well, I'm more heard and turned. So I saw it when you were on your. Yeah, I heard.
She more heard.
I saw like
Dad,
that.
do you have any advice?
Yeah, I think the mule is reading your emotions and reacting.
Okay.
I just thought of that when I know what Misty's driving at.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to come up with that.
I was real calm before that.
Right. That doesn't matter. I mean, we're all real calm when our kids are behaving like perfect angels.
Do they have a mule barn sale around here anywhere?
There it comes.
Yeah.
Well, he said advice. I was waiting for Gary to say, you need to sell that mule.
Yeah, you need to get rid of the mule. I mean, it's just no question. I mean, why monkey with that mule?
Well, I think you just have problems with mules. And I've got years invested in this mule. I've had it since it was weaned. And I think it'll be fine.
I agree. I don't think we get rid of the mule for being a little jumpy. I think
if he just keeps stacking up X's, then yeah.
I think that let's try the mule handler first. Like, let's go that angle. Let's get some emotional discipline. I'm being a little bit facetious because I know you're not out of control with your mules. You're real restrained. But I think if you're real restrained in your actions, like you don't take action. But I do think those mules have a crazy ability to read.
Oh, they do, absolutely.
To read people. And so even if you're being really self-controlled, they can read if you're
The way that I've heard it described, and I've used some of my words to describe it, is that a mule does not have a complex vocabulary and language in terms of words. I mean, literally, they have just a few verbal noises that they make that do communicate with other things. What they do absolutely communicate with all the time is facial expression, posture, ears, eyes, mouth, nose. They literally communicate with like the furrow of a brow, the angle of an ear. And the other thing they communicate with is their feet. I mean, Banjo and Izzy, every single day I watch them kick each other. I mean, like they communicate with that. So, yeah, you're speaking a different language when you're around them, and that's what natural horsemanship and these guys that are real good at it are good at doing is putting out the right
frequency.
It sounds like voodoo, but man, it is science.
I'm always amazed at how much a mule, even any equine animal or a dog, can pick up on fear or intimidation. Like, I mean, my dogs are big, goofy. I have 2 Great Danes, big, goofy, docile dogs that just want to play all the time. If they see someone who's intimidated by them, they want to bark at them.
Yeah.
But they won't bark at anybody else. I mean, a 2-year-old will come by and they'll just bound over there and lick them. But a 6'6" big old dude walks by and turns like this and looks at him. They're going, woo, 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 woo. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like Clay's turkeys that were discriminatory against anything they perceived as weak. They would attack anything they perceived as weak, either someone that had a disability in terms of like a visible disability where they couldn't walk straight, they would go attack that person.
Really?
Yes. Elderly people, young children, often women.
My wife hated
just like a classic bigot.
Yeah, those turkeys.
If you're going to be a bully, pick a fight you can win.
I'm wondering if Banjo's a listener of the podcast, a consumer of media, and has maybe picked up on this agenda you've been pushing where you're like, your mule doesn't like you, it doesn't have the capacity to love, and Banjo's just, I'll show you,
Yeah.
You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back.
Yeah, emotional.
I thought we had something going, and then you're out here telling people mules can't love,
That's right.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
It's all about who has the
I'm not a
tree.
smart mule, but I know what love is.
Evidence-based horsemanship, a book that I read. I read years ago, before I was even training equine animals.
Yeah.
Talks about a paradigm shift inside of training, primarily horses is what the book talks about, but mules too, where this idea that a horse likes you or doesn't like you, or that a horse does this thing because it wants to get back at you for like not giving it enough grain yesterday. Like basically these guys, it was
Is that true or false?
Oh, it's complete anthropomorphization.
That's a big old word.
That was good.
We've mapped.
First try.
If you're going to define relevant, then I think you need to define that.
We've mapped human traits onto animals.
That's right.
Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah. And basically the 2 guys that wrote it, I can't remember their names. Basically, one of them was a neuroscientist, and the other one was a real good horse trainer. And basically the neuroscience guy, which I loved, and I still would like to have him on the podcast. He was like, a horse does not have a place in its brain to love you.
But what about in its heart?
Right. Exactly.
And a brain doctor knows nothing about hearts.
Whitetail Institute launched the food plot revolution in 1988 with a concentration on research and real-world testing of forage products specifically for whitetail deer. Whitetail Institute's research and development team of agronomy experts provide effective, personalized service. I've been using Imperial Whitetail Clover for a long time in a food plot back behind my house. In 2007, I killed the biggest buck of my life over an Imperial Whitetail Clover small quarter-acre food plot. Imperial Whitetail Clover is the only clover scientifically developed through years of selective breeding. Clover Extreme genetic stability provides extreme cold tolerance, disease, and drought tolerance. It really does. Clover is coated with Whitetail Institute's Rain Bond, a polymer coating added for enhanced seedling survivability. They have an exclusive offer for Bear Grease listeners, 15% off Imperial Clover when you use the code BEAR at whitetailinstitute.com. That's whitetailinstitute.com and use code BEAR for 15% off. Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. Born in 2003 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sport Dog was forged by a passionate group of hunters and dog trainers who intimately understood the challenges of the field and the special connection between hunters and their dogs. The people at Sport Dog know that having a well-trained hunting dog is more than just having a reliable partner. It's a commitment to their safety and unlocking their full potential. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple: gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Trust Sport Dog, where innovation meets passion, to elevate your hunting experience and strengthen the bond with your local companion. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me to track my squirrel dogs and my one old coon dog that's not very good. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more.
What about Trigger and Silver, man? Holy
Yeah, no
cow.
kidding.
Is that
Lone Ranger and
Lone Ranger and
Tonto
Roy
and
Rogers.
Roy Rogers. I mean, those animals love those guys.
Yeah.
It's
Didn't
hard.
even like
It
'em.
is actually hard because we had a mule, and what was her name? The very first one, was it Mabel?
Ellie Mae.
Ellie Mae. And we had a horse, Ruth, and Ruth left for a while and wasn't there. And Ellie Mae was so needy. I would walk out, and Ellie Mae would not pay me the time of day. I go on walks by where the mules are, and I would walk out there every single morning. Walk out there with the dogs. They would walk with me. The mule would just stay off to the side. When the horse left town, I would walk out there, and she would come greet me every morning and whinny at me every single day. I'm not saying that they love.
That's a classic. You've anthropomorphized these animals because you feel like she's like emotionally lonely. They're herd animals, so they have a deep desire to be with another animal. And
I'm
if
just
there's
saying
no
she
horses
whinnied.
around-
I'm just saying, like, emotions whinnying. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I know more about this topic than you.
Yeah, maybe so.
Put
Social,
that to the list.
They're social
social
animals.
capital. That's what we call that.
Social capital. Great. Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this podcast. What was your favorite part, Isaac?
I think it was the lady who just like had all the information dialed
Yeah.
in on the mounts. Just
Yeah,
like, oh, that's
Sandra.
a 176.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah,
dadgum.
Sandra,
Yeah, she
knew her
corrected me.
stuff. Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, it's 165, 170, and she's like, no, it's 176.
I think
Yeah, Mr. Boone and Crockett, try 176.
Yeah.
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 in a broader sense, like I enjoyed the whole thing. We can get to the funeral procession. That was a really interesting thing for me.
We
But
almost took that out, by the way. If you
Yeah.
want to get
Little-
behind the veil,
see how the sausage is made. But I think what's really powerful about this piece is like it as soon as you start listening, it takes you to all the places in your childhood and growing up, and the places in your hometown where you're like, yep, that place is gone. This place is shut down.
Oh, interesting.
So
that's what it did for me.
You were thinking about the places you remember with taxidermy and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Sandra Barrett at Dunlap store in Kirby, Arkansas was really something.
She was good.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, if she was close, I would have been like, hey, come be on the Bear Grease render.
I can't
it's
pull
a long ways from here.
I can't pull it out of my head. I don't know if you said it on the podcast, but how many of the stops were planned and how many were impromptu?
That's a great question. So I think we decided we made 15 stops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were not random stops.
Sure.
Well, okay, and the planned stops were like 3.
Okay.
Like 3 of 15 were like I had an appointment with Clifton Ward and I had an appointment with Sandra Barrett.
That's 20%. 20% of the stops were planned.
Yeah. Maybe just 2. Maybe that's all I had was 2 that
Did Hunter know we were coming to Burroughs?
No,
yeah, I didn't think he did.
not.
I thought we surprised him.
Yeah. And so, but it wasn't just a random sampling of 15 gas stations. Like we were looking for country gas stations. We were looking for places that like towns that we felt like might have deer heads. But the one Brady Mountain one stop there north of, whatever direction from Crystal Springs, east of Crystal Springs, we literally coasted in there after our vehicle said 0 miles left on fuel.
We were going down the road, and he had the nearest gas station, which was that spot in the GPS, or I did, and he was like, all right, the speedometer says we've got 2 miles of fuel left. How far is that? And I'm like, well, it says here 17. Cross your fingers. Actually, it was like we were like 3/4 of a mile past beyond what the capacity of the car said. And finally, the car zeroed out, and we've got it in sight, and we just slid right up to the gas pump.
Nice.
And so that place totally was just random. And we went in there, and that's where there was a big mule deer.
It was meant to be, man.
There was a wood duck. There was a fish.
How do we feel
striper.
as a general rule about non-native species in gas stations?
I mean, I can't talk negatively about it. It was
still for it.
Still a positive.
A for effort.
I mean, personally, when I see that, I'm like, but it's something different when I see a whitetail or something.
Well,
you know what I mean?
What didn't make the cut was there was a jackalope in there.
Oh.
So we did a little bit on the jackalope.
Where's the line in non-standard?
I bet people do not. I think we need to pause
everybody
there.
know what
Yeah.
Everybody knows what a jackalope is.
No.
That's another song.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what a jackalope is.
It's a form of non-standard taxidermy.
Yeah, where they take a rabbit, they mount a rabbit, and put deer horns on a rabbit.
Usually,
it's really
it
brilliant.
was a source of
like a
great
raghorn or a
Actually,
forkhorn,
confusion
something like
in
that.
my childhood.
The jackalope is a jackrabbit with antelope antlers.
Really?
That's what a
Is that a brand name? Are we going to owe somebody
it's a
royalties
breed.
for using the word
what about when they
jackalope on
put
the?
deer horns on it?
Well, how many antelopes do you see around southwest Arkansas?
But I mean, we'd still call it a jackalope. Though,
I
right?
think so, but the actual jackalope is antelope antlers on a jackalope.
I feel like
It's
there's
kinda
something
like-
with cottontail, whitetail there. Something. I don't know.
think it's a little bit like a generic brand, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's just a little
like
off,
a
but
weed
it's
eater
basically the same
versus
thing.
a string trimmer.
That place, that place had a big, nice set of dark 100, a big, like kind of a non-typical like mule deer, but it was
the
just a
mule deer,
skull.
yeah.
It was just a skull plate, you know. I bet nobody has spoken of that mule deer in 15 years. Well, it'd be nice. It'd be interesting to interview the owner.
Yeah.
And we didn't meet him. We just walked in there, and there it was. And then, so your question was how many scripted stops?
Yep.
Really, just 2.
Yep.
Then there were 15 other ones, and I was pretty pleased with the amount of deer horns that we saw on our trip, though it wasn't like a random sampling.
The taxidermy representation of southwest Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma.
It was fairly strong.
Doing you right.
Was that first place you stopped, the smokehouse, was that a gas station?
No.
Or was it just
that was
like
more
a restaurant?
like we just wanted some beef jerky and cinnamon rolls.
So I remember as a kid.
Who doesn't?
It reminded me of going to this country family restaurant when I was a kid, just chock full of dusty, old taxidermy, all mangy looking, but it immediately took me back there as a kid.
Yeah. Brent, what was your favorite part of the road trip?
Miss Sandra, you talked about seeing her talking about the deer heads and the deer heads, and you think about all the places you grew up and saw. Miss Sandra took me back to the people.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of folks like her, or not. I don't see a lot of folks like her anymore. I mean, she has been a staple at that one place for the majority of her life.
Mm-hmm.
She knew if you caught it, if people listening heard that, she was telling Clay deer stories, and all of a sudden a guy walks in and she stops mid-sentence and says, "Hello, Billy Don.
Yeah.
How are you?"
Yeah.
That wasn't planned either.
No, gosh,
Yeah, I
I
caught
just
it.
wanted to bring her home with me.
Yeah.
And she's just a good person, a genuine person. And
Man.
she had so much value in those deer heads up there that there's probably people walking in and out of that store that if you ask them, they've probably been in there a million times, some of them. What do you think about all those deer heads in Dunlap store? And I'm like, what deer heads? People are so focused now on get in, get what you need, get out, and get gone. I could have stayed there all day and listened to her talk about the different things. On the front of that, and I made a little mention of it, there was on the front of the cash register was pictures from old pictures, new pictures of kids, grown-ups, folks that were, graduation pictures or engagement announcement. And I asked her, I said, these are not all families. She said, oh, no, this is just part of our community here. We're all family. And it was so cool because I grew up in a place like that.
I made mention that her stories were rivaling any of those ever told on the Bear Grease podcast.
Yeah.
What do you call it when someone gets? There's a term for athletes that like get in the zone, and they're just like almost operating at like a supernatural level. What do you call it? Like free flow, or
they call it flow in the work.
Flow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Miss Sandra, when she started telling the story, towards the end, it was like she was in the flow, and her voice picked up the pace, and she was like, and then there she was, and then I was coming through there, and I said, I will spank your butt.
She threw a squalling fit.
She was great when she really got fired up. Like she would talk to you just like real normal, just like, yes, this is Don Kelsey killed this one, but then by the time the end, she was like, she was just ripping on the stories, and we couldn't include them all. She told us, I think, every single story that, and a couple of them she didn't know the full story, but she knew all the details that were known. Like that deer came from this place and this man, and it's been here for this long. There were 10 deer, so you guys only heard like 3 stories. You know? But yeah, she was a super sweet lady, and I just like cold called her, and just said, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. She didn't know anything. And I just, and it's hard to describe to someone on the phone in a gas station. Like gas station conversations on the telephone are not long. It's just like, hello, Dunlap store. It's not like they're
She's
just going
working.
to sit there. Yeah. And there's people coming in and out, yada, yada. And so here I am trying to say like, hey, we would like to come to your store and interview you about your deer heads. Like I could, and she was real sweet, but I could tell she was like,
these guys are weird.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, we'll be there tomorrow about 10 o'clock. And Brent will be wearing a pair of overalls and a John Deere cap. You'll know who we are when you see us. No, she was real nice, but that was neat. And then Clifton Ward was a neat old guy. He had that whole gas station covered in deer. Yeah. And the biggest coincidence of the whole thing was we were in there talking to Clifton Ward, and the man who told me about Clifton Ward was Rusty Johnson, who lives in Northwest Arkansas, which is 4 hours from there. Rusty Johnson's dad lives in Texarkana, which is hours from Dirks. We're in there talking to Clifton Ward, who I'd never met before, but knew through the Johnsons, and Jack Johnson walks up. Jack Johnson is a Boone and Crockett scorer. I had just asked the man, we had just guessed on the score. Jack Johnson goes, Clay? You can hear him go, Clay? And I turn around and like, Jack. And anyway, he was like, just passing through. I mean, and anyway.
That is pretty crazy.
It really was.
That's Rusty's dad.
Rusty's dad.
Yeah.
I may not have said that. Yeah, Rusty's dad was Jack Johnson. But, Josh, Anything stand out to you?
Well, coincidence enough, today I was listening to this podcast again, and right before I get to the part where Brent talks about the funeral procession, I see the first funeral procession I've seen in 2 years.
Wow.
Right in front of me. The officer's lights are on, and I look up and I thought, oh, I better stop. Before I realized, I thought it was just an officer coming down the road, and I realized it's a funeral procession. I ripped my hat off and pull over.
Oh, did you take your hat off?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Now, would you have known to do that before?
I didn't. I never thought about taking my hat off.
No.
I've always
Dad,
pulled
would you
over.
You wouldn't take your hat off.
No, and I was real disappointed. Who is your dad? He didn't teach you that stuff. I'm going like, come on, man.
Well, yeah. So the funeral procession.
I thought that was a nice little tidbit thrown in there.
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
Good.
like, it's like a little PSA right in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I wanted the podcast to feel like a road trip. You know.
That was the soundscapes of the podcast were a nice change. Like I can hear the squeak of a door opening and the bell ring when you go into it. Like all those
the atmosphere we try to create in here.
Exactly.
With zip ties. And
How long
the
was
creak
the
of the
road trip?
chair, the breath.
How long was that?
Question.
How long was that road trip? What time did y'all leave? What time did you get
I
back?
left. I was in Alma by 7:00, so I left here about 6:00 in the morning, and I got home about 9:00 at night, and we pretty much drove the whole time. And I picked up Brent in Alma, and then we went from Alma to Crystal Springs to Sunshine, Kirby, Derrick's, Hayworth, Oklahoma, Antlers, Mules, Oklahoma, and then back up through Fort Smith, and then back to Northwest Arkansas, and Brent went back to his house.
Are you kind of like a gold digger? I don't know what the right word would be, but it looked like Brent funded the whole project here.
Yeah, I knew. Who did I turn my receipts into?
An expense report.
Yeah, Brent bought me a few drinks.
You have to stay hydrated.
I'm not sure how that happened.
What all convenience store items were consumed on this trip?
Well, by far the best, and it wasn't a convenience store. We're coming from Perils. Was that there was a cinnamon roll, and we put pictures on Instagram, but it's big as a cow patty, and he gave us two, and we eat one all day. It took us all day to eat one, and then at the end of the trip, we cut the other in half, and he brought some home, and I took some home.
We're still eating on it.
It's fed the
But
nucleus
they
for
had
last month.
some beef jerky that was crazy good. Oh my gosh, that stuff was good.
And then we had a bologna sandwich at Miss Sandra's,
I don't know
which
how-
I paid for.
Yeah, finally. That was the mule lip sandwich from.
Yeah, see,
From
that didn't make the
Dunlap's.
cut. We gave a wildly exciting audio version of a bologna sandwich being made that
It was
somehow
good.
didn't make the Bear Grease cut.
Bologna play-by-play.
Yeah.
Classic
Good,
bologna
man.
play-by-play.
Yeah.
You know, it was cool about that store at Dunlap store when Alexis saw the video that you put on Instagram about it. She said, "I recognize that store. I've been there." I thought, "You have been in Dunlap store?" Yes, her grandfather, A.T. Oliver, was a Church of Christ preacher in Southwest Arkansas, and he in Murfreesboro, and he loved stopping in that store and getting that hand dipped ice cream she talked about.
Oh, wow.
When they had his funeral, the
Wow.
whole family goes down there. So there was 3 van loads of them, and to honor him on the way back, they all stopped there in Dunlap store and got some hand dipped ice cream.
Wow.
She
There you
said,
go.
I've been in that store.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Dad, what was your favorite part?
I just enjoyed the relaxed nature of the whole thing. It brought back a lot of memories about Mr. Petty's, where I lived in Hot Springs. You could go 2 blocks in any direction, and there would be a little store. You know, they didn't have deer heads in it. But, you know, and then as I got older, I said, convenience stores have come in and these things disappear. So as you look, I enjoyed Misty's social capital deal. And I kept thinking,
yeah.
what has replaced this? Because something has replaced this part in a community, the old store. And coffee shops is about all I could, you know, you got church, you got civic clubs, you got a lot of stuff going on that bring people together. You got parades, you got all kind of stuff going on that pull communities together. And a lot of times Chamber of Commerce has helped. But in my little small town, the coffee shops are a big deal. You know, you'll walk in a coffee shop and there might be 10 guys sitting around.
Do you go down there and drink coffee?
No, I don't. I go in occasionally and just see these guys, but I don't, you know, I'm too busy goofing
What are you
off.
doing?
I'm just a deadbeat, man, and I've become really good at it.
He's driving his side-by-sides to the golf course and back.
I tell you what really disappointed me. I mean, I just couldn't believe two guys of y'all's stature would walk into a store, a station, that didn't have any taxidermists at all, and not harass them a little bit. I mean, really. I mean, I could see that as humorous as you guys can be.
Oh, I see.
Could
You think we should have confronted them?
I think so, man. I mean,
It's a
I
very
would be like,
confrontational render.
"Hey, man, I
today.
love your little store here, but where's your dadgum deer heads?"
Clay
That's
stole all the
great.
toilet paper out of the bathroom.
We did a little
that'll teach
graffiti
'em.
on one of them. We didn't put that on there. We went in the back and spray painted stuff.
Yep, good.
No, I'm just kidding.
No,
That's a good. I take that criticism. Yeah, we should have confronted. We just walked out of there like a couple of little
Tail tucked
scolded
between
ground
your legs.
squirrels. Just went back to the
Disappointment.
car.
We were eager to get to the next spot.
The toilet paper, stealing the toilet paper made me think an
That's
issue
really not
that,
true. We didn't do
No,
that.
yeah. Sure. An issue that wasn't brought up on here, and I felt like could have played an integral part in this conversation, especially with Mr. Shreve, is bathrooms. That was like the number one thing my mom talked about with gas stations growing up. Like,
Yeah.
does that place look like it has a clean bathroom or
Yeah.
not?
Oh, right. Like in the idea of trying to get people to stop at your store.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that was item number one.
Yeah.
You'll
we
see
gotta
that
think about the
advertised
bathroom.
on road
Sap
signs
Brothers.
now. Clean bathrooms.
Yeah. Mom approved bathrooms.
You might find an inverse correlation, which means as
The more-
cleanliness of the bathroom goes up, taxidermy goes down. I don't know why, but that's my gut feeling. I know it's an unpopular opinion.
Okay.
Or
Some
as-
things you just don't tell.
If you go to a place and need to use the restroom, do you have to buy something?
Oh, a lot of people mandate it, like bathroom to paying customers only,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I just feel this internal compulsion to do it.
Yeah.
I'll like
Yeah.
go buy a
Well,
bottle of water or something.
Brent and I.
Brent's shaking his head no.
Yeah. I don't think it's a moral thing. I don't think I'm superior. I'm trying to put it out there and see people's feelings, thoughts.
It's a
I like to contribute. I like to be a financial contributor.
The reason I brought it up
I mean,
is
if
you went
Brent's
into that
buying.
one gas station, no taxidermy. You didn't want to feel bad. You bought a Sprite you didn't want.
Yep.
we did.
That
It
was
was
just
primarily because we walked in there and there were like 8 people behind the counter
Uh-huh.
watching us.
Yeah.
Can we help you? And I'm
We
like,
may have been the first customers that day.
yeah.
Oh,
And so,
so I wonder if there's a link between customers in rural communities and deer heads.
Can you do a follow-up episode where you go back and you're like, we're here to help you out. We've got a trunk full of taxidermy. Let's throw it up for a week.
wow,
See what happens.
that's a good idea. We could fill our vehicle up with taxidermy and go
Yeah.
around and see if people would let us hang.
Yeah.
Man,
Hey, I
tell
can't
you
help-
what, that actually makes my stomach tighten just a little bit. It was a bit of a stretch, time or two going in these gas stations, just cold turkey, like asking them about stuff. I mean,
Really?
it's not. It seems like, well, yeah, Clay, you would have been comfortable talking. No, I wouldn't have been. I had to.
It's a sign of the times. And I don't know what it is. But maybe it's the fast paced life or the disconnect that people have. But you don't walk into a store like Miss Sandra's store. And in we didn't walk into a store, I don't think that anybody was rude. Most of the people were welcoming. Can I
Sure.
help you? You know?
Sure.
But you get a general feel, and when somebody is actually glad to see you and know that you're coming in. When we got from like that one place in Oklahoma, the ladies were working there in that little store, the 2 stores together, that had no idea about any of the deer heads. Hanks, exactly. They were like, "Hey, y'all come on in. What can we get you?" And we started talking about deer heads, and they looked at each other like calves looking at a new gate. They're like, "What are these folks doing?" But once they figured out what we were doing, man, it
Yeah,
was
they were in.
all they could do to help us.
Yeah, they were really helpful.
So a lot of
They weren't-
places,
they didn't slow down when we figured out what we're.
yeah, and I think that's what makes it different. That used to folks like her, those 2 ladies, and Miss Sandra, and all the other folks that we saw there, that was 100% nearly every place you would go. And now we talk about it because it's not. It's different.
When you were talking about Miss Sandra and the pictures up on the register, right? It made me think like that's social media, pre-social media.
Right.
Exactly. And I'm not here to like just talk bad about social media. I think there's a lot of good and positive and upside potential to it, but it is a force that can silo us, make us not as connected, make us want to say things that are mean-spirited or whatever because there's no in-person repercussion. Right. It sort of tears at the fabric of some of our community. But when you go to the gas station and you see the pictures and you're interacting with people face-to-face, it builds those things.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Is that in that vein of social capital that you're talking about, or is that not related at all?
No, I think it's in that vein, and I think what Brent's talking about, you don't want to be too nostalgic about the past because the past had stuff in it that, whenever you talk about a place of connection, a place of community, the next question is always for who?
Yeah.
Was everyone in the community really allowed in that space?
Sure.
And so in some ways there have been improvements, but overall there has been a generational shift across races, across different cultures, and this is a North American thing. Most of the research that we've seen is North American, but a generational shift in all the things that Gary just named: parades, church membership, civic organization membership, and even when there's still membership, people are replacing. For example, I was reading this week about people are essentially replacing doing for and doing on behalf of, or doing with doing on behalf of.
What's that mean?
Well, so like people are still involved in, the U.S., I don't know if y'all ever read Tocqueville, but when he came to the U.S., this is like centuries ago. One of the things that stood out about the U.S. was its civic participation and how rich community life was. Today, even with the U.S., with our civic participation dying, we're still more engaged in our communities and in volunteerism than a lot of other countries. Yeah. So all of the research that we're looking at I've been looking at is in the U.S. But even when people stay engaged in like volunteer organizations like the Lions Club, the Elks Club, or family, community traditions. But a lot of times they'll give a donation instead of going and doing stuff with people.
Yep.
And so, that doesn't get you the same thing. That doesn't get you the same social benefits.
We all have that need to socialize with each other, and we're going to find it. We don't have to have we don't have to have Dunlap store. I'm going to seek it out. Now, certain people aren't quite as apt as others to find that socialization, wherever it's going to be. Deer camps. They didn't used to have deer camps probably like we have now, where you got 30, 40 people in a deer camp. And they don't kill deer. They go down there and they eat and visit and have a big time. So it's real important to have that structure in your society. But the more urbanized we get, the more people walk in and go, dead deer hanging on the wall. And it almost becomes like OARC, this store I've told you about so much. It becomes a tourist attraction. So if you can capture what you were looking for and you can do it well enough, the Corvette Club will come there, the Motorcycle Club will come there, the four-wheelers will come there. There's 2 new little places around our community that have done exactly what they did, what Dunlap's has done. Yeah. And people come from all over to go there. They've rebuilt the old store down there, and you go down there and there'll be 30, 40 four-wheelers parked around it. I'm 20 miles from the hub of four-wheeling, and I stop in to get a biscuit from this guy. And I'd heard about his store.
So you got deer heads in there?
Yeah, I'm sure he does. I know he has fish. He's a big fisherman. Okay. But it's an old building, and he's smoking meat, and he's got ice cream, and people just love that. So instead of it being in every community, it all of a sudden becomes tourist attraction. Really,
yeah. Right.
Whitetail Institute launched the food plot revolution in 1988 with a concentration on research and real-world testing of forage products specifically for whitetail deer. Whitetail Institute's research and development team of agronomy experts provide effective, personalized service. I've been using Imperial Whitetail Clover for a long time in a food plot back behind my house. In 2007, I killed the biggest buck of my life over an Imperial Whitetail Clover small quarter-acre food plot. Imperial Whitetail Clover is the only clover scientifically developed through years of selective breeding. Clover Extreme genetic stability provides extreme cold tolerance, disease, and drought tolerance. It really does. Clover is coated with Whitetail Institute's Rain Bond, a polymer coating added for enhanced seedling survivability. They have an exclusive offer for Bear Grease listeners, 15% off Imperial Clover when you use the code BEAR at whitetailinstitute.com. That's whitetailinstitute.com and use code BEAR for 15% off. Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating Mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. Born in 2003 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sport Dog was forged by a passionate group of hunters and dog trainers who intimately understood the challenges of the field and the special connection between hunters and their dogs. The people at Sport Dog know that having a well-trained hunting dog is more than just having a reliable partner. It's a commitment to their safety and unlocking their full potential. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple: gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Trust Sport Dog, where innovation meets passion, to elevate your hunting experience and strengthen the bond with your local companion. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me to track my squirrel dogs and my one old coon dog that's not very good. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more.
Yeah, so Dad was telling me there's a store in Oark, Arkansas, which is maybe one of the oldest gas stations.
It is the oldest going concern in Arkansas, supposedly. 1890
is when it started as a store.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's ongoing. And I would just bet you if you were to do a study on it, it was just a store for years. But now, probably in the last 20 years, it's a destination.
Yeah. They've made it into like a themed. It's kind of like going into like a Cracker Barrel or something, like
it's
a wall
like
drug,
antiques and
Yeah, it's
well,
maybe
not
stuff.
necessarily. You get really good
I've never
food.
been there.
You got wooden floors. You got a porch you can sit on. You got old pictures all over the place.
And they've got deer heads. I actually was gonna go there to the Oark's General Store, I think is what it's called, and we just weren't able to get there.
Hey, let me repeat it. We do not need Dunlaps. I don't want Dunlaps. I want a Cherokee Casino that I can walk in with a clean restroom, get gas at a cheap price, and walk out and listen to a podcast.
And not interface with someone.
Not necessarily interface, but if I know there's a place around that has Dunlap's personality, I'm going to drive to it. It's going to be a point where I want to go to it, but it's been replaced by something better. In my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to drive to Dunlap's to fuel up when I can drive 10 miles the other way and get a McDonald's burger. I can buy something. I got a clean
What you're
restaurant.
saying is that we've chosen what we wanted. I mean, like time and progression.
We got what we asked for.
Has
The dollar bill dictated where we went.
And that's what Jeff said. That's what J.B. Shreve said.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
if you map it onto something else that's happening, I've got a lot of friends who take issue with Jeff Bezos and the way he runs his company.
That's Amazon.
And still buy from Amazon because it's really convenient.
Right.
It's like you may say that you want this, but like ultimately I'm stopping at the chain gas stations because they're convenient. They're right here. It's going to be clean. It's going to
we
it's gonna
need,
be cheap.
This is contrary probably to everybody listening to this, but I moved to a little town in Arkansas to raise a family, to have a nice career opportunity, but I would not have moved there had there not been a Walmart. I'm telling you. I mean, that seems kind of crazy. If there hadn't have been a Pizza Hut, a Walmart, just a couple of conveniences, I would have said, hey, I don't need this career opportunity. You guys can have it. So Amazon, I mean, they're putting people out of business, but, I mean, it gives my family more money. I see
Save
stuff.
money, live better.
Yeah, so therefore I can take a vacation. I can.
And that's what I think I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not anti-modernization. And I wouldn't want anybody to ever get that idea, even though they might be like, think that. Like, I love Walmart. I love going and buying cheap gas. All that I think is interesting is understanding really what's happened and what we've given up for just to map the change. Like, I see what you're saying. That's a great point, because we're not. Yeah, I don't want somebody to be confused and think that we're trying to be like nostalgic for the past. Like, I don't like doing like.
Do you want to go back to rotary dial landlines?
Yeah, like I'm cool with it being 2022 and us having the internet and social media and being able to buy gas quick and not have to go in and talk to someone for 30 minutes.
But maybe just throw a whitetail inside.
Just put a deer head in there and I'll be fine. But my point in what's interesting about it is just trying to map and understand where our society has moved. Because you just wake up and you think it's normal, and you look back and be like, well, there used to be general stores and all this. And then you look at the oil industry, you look at social capital and these ideas. It's just interesting.
That's really is.
That's all I want to do. Like, yeah, I'm with you. And that's a great point. I'm glad you said that. Like, I don't necessarily even want to go back. I just want us to understand where we're at. And then we can we don't have to build relationships at the gas station anymore. Like, that is not a human necessity. It wasn't like in the beginning there was a gas station and that's where you went to get all your information and your gas.
But we do have to build relationships somewhere.
That's right.
And I think that's what, and this is kind of, we've talked to our kids a lot, that we live our lives off of ancient principles that do not go out of style. There is no fad that is going to, the principles that we live our lives by are always going to be
right. No matter what technology, no matter what technology comes.
But we live a very modern lifestyle.
It's
governed, a very modern lifestyle that's governed by those ancient principles. And I think that's the thing, is we're not trying to just go back to, and because I think, Clay, you actually would prefer to live in a city. I mean, a town that does not have a Walmart in it. That would be your preference. Mm. And as evidenced by the fact that we live in a town that does not have a Walmart in it. Yeah. And that I feel like we've gone out of our way to go to gas stations. I mean, Clay wants to go to a place that has character. So I think you definitely would. I would say, I hear what you're saying, and you don't want to go back, and you like your smartphone, but you like to take the kids.
I'm on TikTok, guys.
Yeah,
I mean, it goes back to
own TikTok.
Yeah,
you don't own TikTok.
You don't own TikTok. I think that's a Chinese corporation.
Yeah. I asked them this last week. But Bear Grease, I mean, you're all about the popularity of what you're doing is based on Dunlap's. I mean, who wants to kill a bear to get greased? I'd rather go to a store and buy some
canola
grease.
oil.
Yeah. Yeah, something that'll kill you. You know, that
Right.
bear grease is too healthy.
I think the themes that we always come back to are the things that have tension in them, and that's what you're discussing. Like just that tension of like the old meeting the new, the things that I like meeting the new things that I like, and
I think we just
Hanging out
got to
there.
be aware. Like it's just smart to just be aware and just understand stuff. It's interesting. And just put a dead gum deer head in your gas station.
Really.
How hard is it?
I actually
And one of I'm going to say this, my favorite part was the guy who, what was his name? Shaquille.
I wanted
Yeah.
to bring up Shaquille.
I love Sandra, and I told Clay, definitely the MVP, but Shaquille, I thought that was super cool because you kind of have this meeting of the worlds where Shaquille clearly wasn't, his family origin
A local.
is not Southeast Arkansas or Southwest Oklahoma, wherever
Yep.
you were. But he in a certain level, embrace there. You could see the cultures coming together. And I thought that was a super cool story that someone felt close enough to Shaquille to say, hey, I'd like to bring my deer head.
he
and
was-
Shaquille
entrusted
didn't
him.
open a store to hang
Truth.
taxidermy in.
Yes.
But likes the community aspect, and he's like, yep, that I'm
Bring
in.
him in.
Yeah,
I loved it.
He was such a cool guy. It was a neat old store he had. And I mean, it was, he wasn't trying to be cute by being a country store. Like he had just a convenience store that he was just trying to make a living in. But it was a neat old building. And turns out there's some history with that place. He said it'd been there like 80 years or something. And we walk in and it was there was one other person in there and he was talking to this guy. I think this guy had like a 24 pack of beer like at 2:00 in the afternoon. And he was
There you
sitting
go.
there talking to Shaquille.
Probably
And
for later consumption.
it was hard to say.
Responsibly, he was getting his month's larder of.
But they were just talking just like they were best buddies, And then I knew that a couple of these stores I would walk in with my recorder and kind of just be like incognito. But I knew that I had to tell this guy what we were doing. And so he was very interested in the Bear Grease podcast.
That's
He
awesome.
had me write it down on a piece
Yeah.
of paper, and I said, I'm going to write my name and my phone number.
Yep.
I need to reach back out to him to see if he heard it.
It was, to me, it was a highlight because it kind of, to me, it's almost like in Shaquille's store, this tension that we're talking about was resolved. I mean, you're clearly seeing a global universe, and and I mean, you're just seeing so many themes in it.
I have this on tape, on tape,
Cassette.
Okay.
on digital
On SD
recordings.
card.
He when we were leaving, he said, what good does this do people to listen to your podcast?
And you're like, that's an excellent question.
I mean, like he was really processing because I was like, we're a hunting conservation, like history,
Clay has an
anthropology
existential
type
crisis.
podcast.
Yeah.
And we
Why
want
don't
to
you
talk
listen
about,
and let me know?
we're going to talk about deer heads and gas stations, and he was just like, huh. Now, what company is it that you work for? And then
It
he
won't
said,
be around
he said,
long.
what? He literally said, what good would it do for someone to listen to this podcast of yours? It was just like the most genuine question. And I was like, well, actually, the hunting industry, and that's a lot of people that listen to this would be hunters. I said, it's actually a really huge industry in the United States. And he was like, oh yeah. He knew that. And he just was puzzled, man. He was just puzzled.
It is puzzling,
We could roll up in his.
but it's interesting.
But
I
it
we
love
could
was
it.
roll
so
up.
nice.
We could roll up in his driveway, unannounced, walk in with a deer head, and said, "Hey, remember us? Can we hang this in here? I promise you,
Yeah.
he'd drive a
We
nail
ought
on
to
the
go.
wall.
Yeah.
We ought to go hang a deer head down there.
He would drive
we
a
ought
nail
to
on the
hang.
wall."
We ought to hang a deer head in Moyles, Oklahoma. I think it's Moyles. Was it Moyles?
Something like that. Yeah.
And we say every person that goes to that store because of Bear Grease, will give them something.
Take a
A
pic-
sticker.
Had to take a picture.
We ought to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up one of my deer heads though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. What
What
deer head
was
you
the?
gonna?
It was. What was the name of the store?
Brittingham's
Brittingham's.
store.
Yeah, Brittingham's.
I was wondering if
Maybe
Bear
Isaac
Grease
would give his deer.
may be interested in sponsoring a scholarship of sorts or something like that to someone who may have a gas station or may be looking to open a gas station and
They need taxidermy.
need taxidermy. I think that
A
there's
taxidermy
some
scholarship.
there's a greater good to be done. That's the good that happens from listening to this. We're connecting gas stations with.
Hey, what about the shout out Miss Sandra gave to that one
Mad Dog.
taxidermist, Mad
Oh,
Dog
yeah.
Taxidermy.
Yep.
She straight up just
Yep.
was like,
Here's the guy.
Yep.
Period. The end.
And let me just tell you,
Started
that
when he
is
was
social
16.
capital right there.
exactly.
That's a prime example.
He got an advertisement on Bear Grease that who knows what he would have had to pay for that if he had gone through a meat
functional,
eater. Come
yeah.
on, let's just be honest.
Functional social capital.
Yeah.
You go into places. In fact, I can think of several. I won't mention them. And a couple of them are real good friends of mine. And I go, "Where's the dadgum chairs around here? I want to socialize with people." And they go, "We don't have chairs in here. We don't want people coming in here to socialize." And I'm really, they don't. So it's more than
like a gas station.
Well, it's like a real good friend of ours in Mina that.
I know what you're talking about.
And I mean, it's a great run place. It's clean. It's got nice restrooms. It's got great products. There's no chairs.
Do your business and get out.
So what I'm saying, or what I'm thinking is, you can have all the deer heads in the world, but you've got to have good food. You got to have places to sit.
Yeah.
You got to have friendly people. Hey, what's going on, Billy Don? You got to have 2 names. I mean,
2 names. That's big.
And so
It is important.
Yeah.
So you can do that without deer heads, but it just happens if you have that environment. You usually have some.
Well, and
taxidermists.
what we did, we could really dissect what we did. We used a almost a spurious correlation to try to draw conclusions about something much bigger. I mean,
It's a placeholder.
We realized deer heads do not mean that someone's going to build social capital. There, I am saying it, but it's an indicator.
Yeah.
It very strong, I'd say.
It could be an indicator of a time past.
I just don't understand why all these researchers that I've been
They
reading,
don't talk about deer heads.
Not once has
They've been
taxidermy been
brainwashed
mentioned.
by the liberal media.
Misty, there's your book.
Misty says, "Cut that out." Misty says, "Cut that out."
Dude, when you said chairs, I immediately saw the little booths, red Formica benches with a wood grain tabletop, 2 of them right in front of a window. I can't tell you how many gas stations I've seen that. Little styrofoam cups of coffee, old men in their overalls.
One cup of coffee, 1 spit cup.
Yep, absolutely.
That's kind of the story of my grandpa is like constant, his truck. When he died, my nephew got the truck and I got in there and it just smelled like chew. I mean, that's what it smelled like, the old spit cup. But we took him, he was dying and we were trying to, we knew he was going to die. We were trying to get the kids these relationships, and we actually brought a video camera down because he was just a great storyteller and we wanted to hear him tell us stories so that so I brought my kids down, my mom, all my kids sit in the room and we just asked him, tell us this story. And he loved it. And after it was over, we said, hey, we want to take you, and we named the steakhouse downtown or anywhere else you want to go. Just name the place. And he was not like super close to even his own family, his immediate family, his own kids. I would say he wasn't the best at building those kind of relationships, but that man ate out every single night of the week. And he built very deep relationships with those people. And I'm not kidding. Like, I would grow up and go into a restaurant and he'd be there. And I always felt like the people waiting on him knew him a little bit better than I did because he had like this routine. But anyway.
It's really hurtful.
It wasn't. He wanted to go to the Country Express. That was where
the gas station.
That's where he wanted. And the steakhouse that we volunteered to take him to was next door. And he's like, not much of, let's go to the Country Express. That's where I like to eat lunch on Mondays. And like it was
good.
every Monday he ate at that gas station and he knew everybody in there and different people would come in and he'd tell us their story. People that were strangers to us would come in and they would stop and talk to him and he would tell them, don't tell him I'm sick. It's like, you don't look well.
The businessmen, not necessarily the businessmen, the construction workers, they have their favorite little places to go.
Yep.
The Country Express.
It's one of them.
I mean, it's just a gas station that has some nice booths and great, awesome, unbelievable food.
Yeah.
It's the catfish.
Yeah,
That's what he
barbecue,
loved.
whatever you want is good. And it's one of these social capital deals. They go in there and they share what they're doing and projects their own, and no deer heads though.
Sorry about that.
But
The further we got away from 4-lane highways, There's a direct correlation between deer heads and the number of lanes on the highway.
Ooh, I'd
Wow,
love to see
that's
a
good.
heat
That's
map.
a good one. Yeah.
Hey, Route 66, you think about it. We don't leave Dunlaps. We don't leave all these places. We retain a few of them, just is artifacts or whatever you want to call it. I mean, but Route 66, how many people travel that thing every year to just stop in at little drive-in, small gas stations? I mean, so people learn how to make money off that. You say, well, I think I can start attracting people.
Hey, we'll close down here pretty quick. Do you know where the live mountain lion was?
Oh, yeah. No question. I think about it every time I drive by it.
Yeah. Then that was a gas station,
It
right?
was.
Yeah.
It was in his restaurant.
I'm fact-checking myself.
Yeah.
What color was it?
Jet black like a July night. I mean, December night.
Yeah.
1979.
Hey, one thing that came out of this was a dead gum purple cougar, wasn't it?
Yeah. In the gas squatch.
Wow. Hey, so I bleeped out the name of the small country gas station that didn't have deer heads. I bleeped out the town. I bleeped out everything because I didn't want to make them look bad.
I'm pretty sure everyone who ever drives through there is going to know who. I mean,
No,
gas
no.
squatch. That's not. That's,
No.
No,
not these guys.
Oh, okay.
There was another one that I had
Gotcha,
Phil
gotcha.
beep out completely.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to do harm to these
Right.
We weren't throwing shade on
people.
them.
Gas
I got you.
Squatch, though, we were so impressed with the place, I left the name in, even though we kind of got onto them for not having a deer.
Yeah.
I just they really went all out.
It was not Bear Grease sanctioned, but it would have been Gary Newcomb sanctioned.
Yeah. You probably could have played a round of golf in there. I don't know.
It was good. It was a big. It was a big store.
Oklahoma knows how to do gas stations.
They sure do.
Man, the Choctaw Travel Plaza with the 180, 190. It may have been a 190-inch typical.
It's huge.
I mean, it was straight up, looked like a picket fence.
It was
on top
not.
of that
It
deer's
wasn't
head.
dressed typically, but it was a typical rack. It was a beautiful deer.
Yeah, it was. It was. Man, thanks, guys. Man, do we ever have some exciting Bear Grease episodes coming up in the future? I'm not even going to give you any hints, but very
Foreshadow.
excited. Very excited about what's coming up. This show is sponsored in part by BetterHelp. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we've already done right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another. Or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you actually want to eat breakfast. In the last year, I've been more diligent about going to the gym on a regimented schedule, and it's made a lot of difference in my life. Therapy helps you find your strengths so that you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/grease today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/grease.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.